And the four immeasurables are loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. And it's the fourth one, equanimity, that I'd like to talk about today. Equanimity is the one that opens up all the others to us, and the one that offers a cure for a lot of problems, including indifference. The kind of indifference that might creep in. This is a good time for talking about equanimity too, given all the things that are already going on in the world. And then we have these fires burning just north of us. I bet many of us here today are friends with or acquainted with somebody who's been deeply affected by this disaster. The fear, the pain, the loss, and what looks to me like genuine horror is so fresh for them right now. Our hearts just go out to them. And of course, we all share that pain in a way. So what is equanimity? Well, of course, there's a hint of the meaning right in the word. If you don't already know the meaning of the word, it's E-Q-U-A are the first letters, add an L, and it's equal, right? So equanimity means evenness, composure, inner tranquility. It means maintaining an inner balance, and equalness, if you will. The mind that doesn't shake when everything around us is in turmoil is a mind that's equanimous. If you've ever been at a talk by the Dalai Lama or Thich Nhat Hanh or been in a room with them, or I understand Jimmy Carter, you've been around someone who exudes this ease, a grace. Many others do, of course, but I think we all know those guys. So where does that ease, where does that grace come from? It comes from being able to stay connected with things just as they are. Just this. Just as they are in this moment. It comes from a complete openness to experience, all kinds of experience, without being pushed or pulled by our reactions, by attraction to some things and pushing other things away, by attraction and avoidance. It's a powerful quality in its own right, but equanimity also supports wisdom, because when the mind doesn't quake, when we can just stay in the moment, a mind that isn't buffeted by reactions, it lets us stay present. It lets us stay with the moment long enough to have some insight. Well, that's lovely, isn't it? Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good. But maybe if we think about it for a moment, some questions might start to creep in. We might ask ourselves, well, being balanced is all very well, but what about robustness? What about passion? What about joy for life? Zest? Does being equanimous mean that we become bland, lack joie de vivre? Let go of our zest for life so that we can be calm and completely unruffled? What about engagement when we see some injustice? Does being equanimous mean we can't feel our emotions? We can't feel grief when our pet dies, or just burst with pride when our grandchild or our child is in the school play or does some sick trick on their skateboard. Does it mean that we can't grieve when they don't get that job they went after or when they get a bad health diagnosis? No. This kind of idea causes some people to say, I don't want equanimity, because they think it means indifference or coldness, some kind of tepidness. But this is a mistaken idea. This is a mistaken idea. These are forms of aversion, of pushing something away. Not equanimity. Equanimity is the opposite of aversion. It's calling us to live fully. The thing is, with equanimity, we take the world as it is. We just take the world as it is. Everything that's wonderful and everything that isn't so wonderful, we take it all in. We connect with whatever comes. That's the point. We don't want to deny our passion. Rather, what we want to do is cultivate wise passion. What this means is that if our passion, something we really care about, involves attachment, grasping, or aversion, I want, I don't want, gimme, get that out of here, then our lives will be lived in a really constricted way, a narrow way. And just to be clear now, I'm not just talking about passing preferences like chocolate over vanilla, when vanilla will do just as well. Equanimity means if things aren't going so well, we participate anyway. It's our ability to stay balanced no matter the situation, no matter how unfamiliar, no matter how difficult something might be. We stay. An equanimous mind accepts the fact that there's pain in this world, dissatisfaction, and it engages and responds anyway. Remember what that great master, Dolly Parton, said. If you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the rain. In fact, vitality and equanimity not only coexist, but they actually work together. This is very wonderful. This is very wonderful. When we are filled with equanimity, we keep growing our vitality. We keep growing our alertness. We work with difficulties in a creative way. And we always aspire to alleviate suffering for ourselves and for others. Actually, this combination of equanimity and joie de vivre gives us an opportunity to experience our lives as an art form. We live wholeheartedly. To do this makes a huge difference if we maintain a formal meditation practice. Makes a huge difference if we maintain our meditation practice consistently, at least a few minutes every day. Because to be able to live this life, this kind of life, this engaged life, requires dedication, participation, and connection. The simple fact is that in life there is pleasure and there is pain. And then there are experiences that are neither painful nor pleasurable, and sometimes those are the hardest ones to deal with. Listening to your dear friend tell you about her dog's health problems. You know, that takes some courage. What we have to do is pay attention. Pay attention. See our own experiences. Really be aware of them. Not be spending all our time watching that movie that's running in our heads. listening to that chatter that's running in our heads all the time. And rather than being overwhelmed by what we see, what we experience, we stay steady. Stay steady with whatever comes at us. What we experience. Pleasure, pain, praise and blame, disgrace or renown, loss or gain. To do this, we have to center ourselves with our practice, both when we do formal meditation and when we're out there doing our daily dozen. Excuse me. The question isn't how we can get more pleasant experiences. You've all had pleasant experiences. Did they make you permanently happy? Probably not. Probably not. It was just a pleasant experience. It came and it went. So the question is, are we going to be pushed and pulled between pleasure and pain? Or can we stay steady with simple awareness that it's going to change? Whatever it is right now, it's going to change. Our feelings are going to shift. They just do. But maintaining equanimity keeps us balanced, able to respond well, do what's needed when changes come, when tough times come. The mind, when it's equanimous, is free of the habit of clinging on to something for dear life. I have to have this or my life is ruined. And it also stops pushing things away. This is something uncomfortable, but I'll deal with it. And it's also acutely free of indifference, of not caring. So what exactly is attachment? What's the difference between that and deeply wanting something good for your kids or your parents or your community? Clinging attachment is when we're only living for I, me, my, mine. That's when you can tell the difference. Am I doing this for all beings, or am I just doing it for I, me, my, mine? You already know this. Instead, by simply asking the basic question of the Buddhist life, what is that? How may I help you? How may I help you? No big thing. No big thing. Just how may I help you? This non-attachment gives us room to be generous and inclusive. It opens our hearts to all beings. And that means sometimes opening our hearts to pain. Probably the best way of working with equanimity is to embrace our obstacles. Open up to our challenges, whatever they are, wherever they may be. Test our poise and balance in our daily life, in just daily life. It doesn't have to be anything, cataclysmic, just day-to-day life. We'll always have problems. Why not learn from them and then apply what we've learned by paying attention? We learn from life situations so that we don't try to avoid, so we don't try to control, so we don't try to manipulate and contain our experiences, but allow the possibility of just being with them, just seeing them. I suppose that down through the ages, everybody has thought that the times they were living in were really rough. Maybe the worst ever. But it does seem like today's world is pretty damn challenging. A pretty difficult place in which to maintain our balance. to keep a generous heart in the midst of so much that seems to range from the absurd to the insane to unmitigated cruelty. Many of us work to stay engaged, finding it impossible to be a bystander. But one thing I've learned since a long time ago, when I was first a bit of a confrontational anti-Vietnam War protester, one thing this practice has taught me is the value of what Roshi Joan Halifax calls a grandmother's heart. A grandmother's heart. And she got it from Master Dogen. And Master Dogen said, you can understand all of Buddhism, but you cannot go beyond your abilities, you cannot go beyond your intelligence, unless you have a grandmother heart-mind, the heart-mind of great compassion. A good grandmother has the heart of equanimity informed by loving kindness, compassion, and joy for the well-being of others. She looks out for others. She helps where she can without expecting anything in return. This grandmother, this person of no rank, and it doesn't matter your age, and it doesn't matter your gender. If you've been taught by the experiences of your life, you bring a brave heart. You bring a brave heart to things. She's learned that equanimity means you love equally. Not an easy thing. Not an easy thing. I bet every one of us can pop into mind really quickly someone who, to each of us, would make this a really strenuous practice, loving everyone equally. Myself, I'm working on it. Every day I have to try. But this idea of the grandmother's heart, this person of no rank, this image helps me. It's a good image. When one of my best friends, Gail, when she died, there must have been 50 other people, and I'm not exaggerating, beside myself, who thought she was their best friend. And her loss was a punch to the gut. It knocked me back. But she would have wanted me to pull my socks up. Find some way to turn her loss into something of use, of value. And with the help of this practice, I try to do that. I try to emulate what I learned from her. Our practice naturally develops equanimity because when we're paying attention, and that's the key, when we're paying attention, we aspire to experience things without judgment, without distortion, without the filter of our own separate ego. We're just fully present. I'll be here now. Sitting practice also develops equanimity because when our minds are concentrated, we develop that calm experience of things as they are and as they change. In a clear mind, thoughts, feelings, and experiences may arise, but they just roll off us. We don't become engaged in quick judgments, a quick movement of desire or aversion, for and against, favoring or opposing. Instead, how may I help you? What's my role here? We take a beat. And interestingly, that brings joy into our lives. And don't listen to a word I'm saying. Test this out for yourself. See if it isn't true. We cultivate equanimity because it's one of those things that helps alleviate our suffering, helps alleviate suffering in general. Why? Because it means responding to the conditions we encounter with wisdom and compassion rather than gimme or get this out of here. This is the approach of wisdom. Seeing that, it turns out that everything just isn't under our personal control. Seeing that, causes, known and unknown, bring things about. And imposing our likes and dislikes on them is only going to complicate things. When we open more and more to our day-to-day experiences, becoming more and more present for both the things we like and the things we don't like so much, life itself will help develop our equanimity, our strength. But we have to pay attention. In our daily lives, in our relationships at work, hanging out with our friends, we cultivate the willingness to be present for it all, for all things. Because good things show up too. So we also need equanimity then. We need equanimity when we're praised or flattered and things are going our way. It's not only about the difficult times that equanimity is valuable to us. If we don't have equanimity when we're praised, we can at times just puff right on up. And then that can make us suckers to every con that comes down the pike. Whether from our bosses or from politicians or in some relationships, yeah? So equanimity is not about being quiescent or resigned, or indifferent or bland, not in any way. If sadness comes into our lives, what do? Maybe we cry. Maybe we are just there to listen to the grief of a friend whose house just burned down. Maybe we go to a protest demonstration. Maybe we donate to the school bake sale. I don't know, whatever. Whatever your life includes. The point is, we don't turn away. We don't turn away. Several years ago, I watched this TV program. And it was about a Vietnam vet who grieved so much for what he's seen happening there and the things he'd participated in, that he went back to see what it was like, how things were going. And what he saw caused him to stay and help care for the people, especially the young people, whose lives had pretty much been destroyed by Agent Orange, which was the defoliant we sprayed on the jungles. The aftermath of that war lingers there today in unexploded bombs and Agent Orange in the drinking water, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty. Do you think what this soldier was doing, and you could see that he was doing it with a light heart. He wasn't doing it with any kind of morbid atonement or anything like that. He was just there doing what needed to be done. Wasn't that showing equanimity? Engagement and compassion, but also just doing the job that was right in front of him. And it wasn't an easy one. But a vital engagement in life only becomes a problem if we try to control the outcome of our efforts, if we don't just accept that we don't have control over everything. You know, we find that others aren't quite cooperating with the way that we expected things to go. Or the seemingly endlessness of a disaster or a war drags us down, and our kindness that we originally brought to a problem turns into burnout or anger or frustration Now we're not looking at equanimity or passion, we're looking at attachment and aversion. In the end, what we do when we grow our equanimity is we cultivate our engagement with life. For the sake of life itself, just for the sake of life itself, rather than for the things of life. We expand our hearts and our sense of what's possible. You have to be pretty brave. This is loving kindness spilled out for all, not just some. This is experiencing deep appreciation and heartfelt gratitude just for the fact that we're breathing. Every breath we take. This is wisdom, and it has nothing to do with getting something you think you don't have. Yeah, we must guide our emotions, but not with tension, not with effort. All you sports players here know that, say, a great baseball pitcher, they're not tense. They're performing with grace and strength. A confident, skilled player will have control, but not tension. There's an inner looseness. Not too loose, not too tight, even. The same is true for us, moment to moment. Picking up the kids at school, shopping for grommets at Home Depot. Our hearts, our spirits are open, and they're aware of that openness. Waking up, which is the reason we're all here, is not about passivity or indifference. It isn't about anger or attachment, but it is about living life with enthusiasm, inspiration, and a loving heart. The fundamental requirement we have to be open and aware. We're all the result of our karma, of cause and effect. What we do has consequences. And if we're controlled by our emotions, we're flipping gonna suffer. We have to pay attention. We have to be aware. With awareness, we guide our emotional energies. We guide our emotional energies so that we're free to experience whatever comes. Enthusiasm, grief, sorrow, sadness, curiosity, joy, whatever comes. We can be excited about something without being able to control the outcome, without having a guaranteed outcome. Just do it. Do what we are doing and do it as best we can. Just whatever it is, do it as well as we can do it. And be glad for that. This very openness makes the experience of love or joy or honest grieving meaningful. It's openness, not grasping, that makes the difference between a love that benefits all beings and a love that causes us pain. If we're open and something goes wrong in our lives, our ability to withstand it grows stronger. We can slowly, gently let go and connect with natural compassion. We can care for ourselves too. Again, that kind of equanimity comes from awareness itself. When we come back to this moment again and again and again, our lives aren't passive, they're not dull, they're not indifferent, they're dynamic and full. This is our path. The recognition that the source of our passion, our enthusiasm, isn't this job or that goal or that object, but full engagement with our lives. And that takes practice. It seriously takes practice. On the cushion, when we're sitting formally, and in everyday life. Have to be aware, practicing moment to moment. And then our path is life. And life is our path. No separation. And we walk it with equanimity. So, with the inauguration of a new president, just days away, we could all use a big dose of equanimity right now. We could do well to cultivate our grandmother's hearts and aspire to bring more justice and generosity to this world. Our lives are in the balance. So thank you so much for your patient listening. I really appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Jokai with Long Beach Meditation. Your gracious generosity make these programs possible. If you found this video to be of value, please consider making a donation here. If you'd like to watch more videos like this one, then you can click here. And if you want to stay up to date with Long Beach Meditation, please subscribe by clicking here. Thank you so much.